Hello and welcome. This is Mark Anastasi coming to you from Cyprus, and today I'm going to share with you why women aged 35 to 45 are single and unhappy, what's called the paradox of declining female happiness, and what can be done about it, and also what are the effects that this is having on men. This is apart from the Elevation Experience seminar. I've been working on this content for about 18 months to 2 years. It is part of my upcoming second book, which I recently turned some of the content into a live seminar, and today I'm sharing this segment from the seminar as a live webinar. So what you're about to discover today is why millions of women aged 35 to 45 are now single, unhappy, and even lonely, and what men really want and how men love. It's not what you think. A lot of women have no idea how men show their love. What women really want and what men really want, the energy aspect of sex that no one taught us, the real purpose of marriage and having children. And again, it's not what you think. It's not what you've been taught. Why more and more men are feeling lost and unsure of themselves, how to finally manifest the relationship of your dreams, and much, much more. So on that note, you may have noticed around you signs of the depression epidemic. More than 350 million people suffer from depression. This number is growing by 20% a year. 20% more people a year are diagnosed as depressed, and it's incredible. The numbers in the UK have grown by 25% in the last 3 years alone. You may have noticed the divorce epidemic. Relationships are disintegrating. Now the number of people that are living alone aged 45 to 64 has jumped from 1.5 million people to 2.4 million people. People who live alone in the UK from 6.6 to 7.6 million. Just this number alone, there's an increase of over 50% in the last 20 years. What is going on? See, a 2009 study titled "The Paradox of Declining Female Happiness" by Australian economist Justin Wolfers states that despite 4 decades of feminism, women are considerably unhappier now than they were 40 years ago. All of these issues are interconnected, by the way, and there are very specific reasons why they are happening. Reasons that have been kept secret from you. So who am I? Why should you listen to me? My name is Mark Anastasi. I'm the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Laptop Millionaire. The book became also a Wall Street Journal bestseller. I love researching and sharing information and publishing new information. I've had over 16,000 people attend my live seminar since 2004, and we have over 40,000 clients in 116 countries worldwide. The success of the book has led to appearances on television in Australia and in Europe, but really where all of this started was in my childhood. During my childhood, my father suffered from depression. He lost his job in 1990. He was depressed even before that. He was on antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills for 29 years. And his depression and our money worries, the fact that we never seem to have any money, a lot of financial worries, led to the disintegration of his marriage, of my parents' marriage, essentially. So that background of growing up in a household where depression and poverty and a horrible relationship, all that was happening at the same time, it made me grow up with this void, this desire, this fascination on topics such as happiness and self-esteem, money, how is money made, and relationships as well, and later on even health. I got very interested in the topic of health. But because I grew up with my parents' relationship disintegrated, they stayed together for 20 years even though they hated each other. That was the kind of, and they fought and argued and shouted at each other every single day practically for 20 years. And all of that, that's why I became fascinated with these kinds of topics. And this is what has driven me for years now, traveling around the world, sharing with people the insights that I've gained from my research over the last 12, 13, 14 years. One of the key things that I discovered, I should also add that I suffered from depression from the ages of 13 to 21. I was depressed and suicidal every single day for 8 years of my life. You model the people around you, and you model what you see as a child. I saw my mother being very unhappy and my father being very depressed, and so it was only natural for me to develop that depression habit in my life. And in 2003, I attended a seminar where I realized that our subconscious beliefs cascade into actions and results. If you want to change your life, if you want to achieve a different goal, if you want to create your future, you need to understand how your mind works and how you create your life circumstances. People think that things just happen to you. No, they don't. You create those things through your thoughts, your words, your actions. And when your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned, then you manifest something in your physical reality. For example, if I think I would like to be an airline pilot, and then I say it out loud and I speak to people about it, hey, I really want to be an airline pilot. I'm going to do this. And then I take action and I sign myself up for courses and lessons and flight time, and I just keep taking action until I achieve my result. Well, chances are I'm an airline pilot now, right? If you decide I want to be a school teacher, if you decide I want to have children, whatever, that is how you manifest something in your life. If you think I would like to be in a beautiful relationship, if you say I am ready to be in a beautiful relationship, but subconsciously you think, but what if she breaks my heart? What if he leaves me? What if he cheats on me, etc.? And you don't follow through on the actions that are necessary to meet somebody, to build on a relationship, etc. Well, guess what? Chances are those thoughts and values and beliefs that are in conflict will result in certain judgments and decisions and choices where you'll sabotage yourself, you'll take certain actions where the result will end up being not being in a relationship. And most people want to change their life. They want to change their weight. They're not happy with how much they weigh. They're not happy with their job. They're not happy with their income, with their health. They're not happy with their career. They're not happy with their relationship, you name it. And so to change that, what do? They change relationship. They take different actions. They change relationship. They change cities. They change jobs. They change careers, and on and on and on. But they keep ending up in the same crummy relationship, the same crummy job, the same crummy co-workers over and over again, even though they keep taking different actions. Why is that? It's because just changing your actions won't change your results. You'll keep manifesting the same thing over and over again. To change your results, you need to go upstream into your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, and you've got to identify your subconscious beliefs, your subconscious limiting beliefs, which when you change those, automatically it flows from it. Automatically what cascades down is a completely different result, completely different life, automatically. So anyway, I learned about how this works, how our invisible world creates our visible world, the it jar model, the identity, thoughts, judgments, actions, results, and how we sabotage ourselves. And I found out how I sabotage myself. I had 44 limiting beliefs about money, and no surprise, I was completely broke. I had beliefs such as, I really want to make money, and at the same time, I believed subconsciously, the only way to get rich is to bribe the Greek government. Rich people are evil, greedy, exploitative. We are good people. That is why we have no money, right? And all kinds of different limiting beliefs. So I would take one step forward to make more money, and I would take 2 steps back. And this is important for later on when we explain more about the paradox of the rising female unhappiness. How do you achieve your goals? How do you create your future? There's 5 steps. First step is you've got to get clarity, but you've got to know exactly what you want. Step 2, you've got to identify your roadblocks. What is holding you back? What are the limiting beliefs holding you back? What are the people holding you back? What are the circumstances, the energy that's holding you back? What are the beliefs or the values you have in conflict? Step 3, you've got to reprogram your mind for success. Step 4, you got to raise your vibrational frequency. Step 5, take massive action. And by the way, raising your vibrational frequency means simply when you have more positive emotions of love, joy, gratitude, you attract more things and people and circumstances that are aligned with that vibrational frequency. So if you want to change your life, but you're vibrating in the frequency of despair and anger and horrible things, guess what? You're going to keep manifesting similar circumstances, people, and situations. And step 5, take massive action to change your life. First, you change your thinking, then you change your action. You change your thinking, you change your vibration, you change your action. Now, with that little preamble about subconscious beliefs, and I should say that when I went through this process 12 years ago, I was 7,000 pounds in debt. I was broke, I was homeless, I had no job. But then I blasted through 44 limiting beliefs about money. I programmed myself with empowering beliefs about money. 28 days later, I started making $10,000 a month in passive income. That's how quick and how powerful this is, and how powerfully your life changes when you go through this process. Now, what are the beliefs of a beautiful, single, 35-year-old French lawyer? She's a French lawyer, 35, who says, she swears black and blue, she wants to be in a relationship. She's ready to be in a relationship. But what are her subconscious beliefs? She's a friend of mine. She told me that she wanted to be in a relationship, but she didn't know why it wasn't working out for her. And I said, listen, let me do my magic on eliciting your limiting beliefs. Here's what came up. She said, I really want to be in a relationship, 100%. But what did her subconscious believe? Being in a relationship, it's slavery. It's being submissive. It's being dominated. He's a dictator, and a woman just abides by his rule. Being in a relationship is suffering. It's painful. It's limiting. It's struggling. No harmony. No affection. It's losing your freedom, losing your femininity, losing everything. I won't be able to flourish. I won't be able to be a woman. I won't be able to be myself. I won't be able to be heard and understood. I won't be able to be loved. It invades your life too much. Men are selfish. Men lie. You can't trust them. Men will betray you. Men are unreliable. I'm afraid to be abandoned like my mother was. Men can be critical of you. Men can control you. As a child, I decided that I'll never be in a relationship. I'll never get married. It's too painful. Now, you can only imagine her parents' relationship growing up, what her mother experienced in that relationship, in her mother's relationship. But she's not her mother. But yet she is living through the lens of those beliefs. You need to understand that beliefs, I mean, they're real or false, true or false. Beliefs are limiting or empowering. If you have a belief that no matter what happens, I'm going to be fine, or no matter what happens, I am resourceful enough to resolve any problem, that's an empowering belief. That is a belief that will make you tap into more of your potential, more of your inner power. You'll access more of your resources by having that belief. If you believe that doesn't matter what I do because whatever I do, life is shit and wall to wall, blah, 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 then you won't tap into any of your potential because your belief is already limiting you. This is what Linda, who's 50 years old, a coaching client of mine from England, here's what she says. She's been single most of her life, and she says, my mother told me she wasn't in love with him, her dad, wasn't in love with her husband. It's just what you did in the 1950s. You got married. She was always very scornful of men. They have affairs. They're hopeless. Don't expect too much from men. She was always dismissive of men. They're just there to provide, to fill a role, and go back to work. She used to nag him all the time. She's the biggest nag ever. She didn't appreciate him. Right. When I get together, so now she's describing the mother, but now she's describing in her own life when she gets together with her girlfriends. We constantly complain about men. Actually, come to think of it, that seems to be all we do. And my sister is the worst culprit. I've never seen anyone so negative about men. She's not married. She's 46. I believe that one day, that's her sister. And then she says, I believe that one day I'll meet the one. And everything is going to be so perfect when I meet the one. But no one has ever lived up to that yet. So as soon as she gets into a relationship, she's hypercritical of the man because he's not living up to this magical fairy tale in her head of what the one is supposed to be like. You know, riding in on a white horse and showering her with jewelry, and he just looks at her the whole time, and he never says this, and he always says that, and he never walks like this, he always walks like that, and he never wears this, he always wears that, and he never has anything that he wants for himself. He always does everything for me, and something like it's an insanity basically. And yet it is her subconscious way of protecting her from the pain that her mother experienced being in a relationship, or the pain of being in that sort of horrific relationship that her mother or her parents had. Her subconscious created this idea that this one that I'll meet one day, and by the way, it might be true. It might be true that one day she'll meet that special person, but she's 50 years old and she hasn't been in a successful relationship yet. So the odds of being dismissive of men, nagging men, being critical of men, hypercritical of men, complaining about men, and then suddenly all that falls by the wayside and you have beautiful relations, that's not how it works. Either you have positive, empowering beliefs about men and relationships, and then you have great relationships or good enough relationships, and you figure out, what you want. But you see, you cannot attract a positive relationship if you're not positive about the person from the other side. If you're not positive about men or women, if you're a man, right? You cannot have it both ways. You cannot be dismissive and scornful of men and have a great relationship. That is simply not how it works. Now, where do these negative limiting beliefs come from? Sure, a lot of them come from the mothers and the negative experiences they had, but there's more to it. Where did the mothers' beliefs come from? And did they only come from their own personal experiences, or were they programmed into them? I will examine this in a bit. First, let's take a look at what is happening at society, or in society at large. We're talking about the paradox of female unhappiness, of the rising female unhappiness. But let's look at this depression epidemic. 10% of Americans, 30 million Americans, are on an antidepressant. If you're a woman in your 40s and 50s in America, 1 in 4, 25% of them are on antidepressants. 8%, now this is astonishing, by the way. This is an astonishing statistic. Women are so much more unhappy now than they were 60 years ago. Women are so much more unhappy, full stop. It is insane. 1 in every 4 women are on antidepressants. That is incredible. That is your destiny right there. If you're in your 30s right now in the US, a woman in her 30s in the US. 8% of people in Britain now take medication to combat depression. This has risen by 25%, the number of prescriptions, 25% more in the last 3 years. What the hell is going on? 20% more people are diagnosed with depression every single year. And there's 350 million people suffering from depression today. What on earth is going on? Now, traditional explanations include the erosion of the nuclear family, increasing divorce rates, etc. Stresses early in life, greater focus on individuality rather than on community and family, chemical pollutants and chemical medications which imbalance our chemical balances within the body, the stresses of industrialization, the distress created in women by unattainable ideals of female beauty in the media, portrayed in media, traumatic childhood, of course, but we've all had traumatic childhood pretty much, almost everyone, a loss of belief in God or an afterlife. Well, I'm going to share with you a lot about how the media and a lack of spiritual values has affected humanity on an industrial scale. What I see in our society is that everything in our modern society seems so superficial and artificial. We're being entertained and distracted to death. The media have hijacked everything. None of it is really the truth. There isn't much substance or quality to it. We are saturated with information, and yet we are starved of any real wisdom. Materialism and selfishness is the order of the day. It's a system, it's like a societal system designed to keep people entrenched in a materialistic mindset. They keep you focused on distraction, sex, money, food, consumption, instant gratification, which is great for the corporations, but it leads to depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders. The more advertising you watch, the more materialistic you become, and the more materialistic you become, the more depressed and anxious you are. In the US, 26% of people in any given year will suffer from depression and anxiety, 26%. In the UK, 25%. In Nigeria, one of the poorest countries in the world, 4%. China, 6%. Why is it that the more materialistic a society becomes, the more advertising there is, the more the population is depressed? I mean, that to me is one of the most profound and important questions we need to ask ourselves today as a society. Why is it that despite our incomes and purchasing power having increased fivefold since the 1950s, that means we have 5 times more stuff, and our money can buy us 5 times more things, why is it that we are less happy than in the 1950s? We have 5 times more, and we are less happy. What does that indicate to you? We used to value friendship, comradeship, a sense of community, honor, courage, like values, traditional values. You see, that's a person of value. That I admire that person because they have values. Now we don't give a damn about people's values. Now we care about status. How rich, how successful is that person? They could be a lying scumbag, but we don't care because they're successful. It's more important to be successful than having values. Now advertising has taught us to value fame, money, and status instead of honor, community, friendship, courage. We are taught to compete with one another in this dog-eat-dog world to keep up with the Joneses. As a result, we mistrust one another. We don't even know our neighbors anymore. How much more materialistic and corrupt can society get? How much more trivial can it all get? I see a desperation in people's soul. People have lost meaning in their lives, and they reach these new depths of emptiness. Bill Burr says, I sometimes feel like I'm just doomed to walk around in and out TGI Fridays with this emptiness I can't quite put my finger on it. I think he said it in his latest stand-up comedy special. When I was growing up in the 1980s in Greece, in the mountains, there was 8 or 9 houses. And we all did everything together. We helped each other with solidarity. We raised each other. They raised each other's children. They spent Christmases together. They spent Easters together. The whole community would basically celebrate those two things together. They would go out into the forest together, into the woods to collect wood for the winter and pine cones for the winter. They would go walking through the woods together as the whole community. The houses were unlocked. Television showed up in the 1980s. The television was liberalized in Greece. So they went from having 1 or 2 state channels to having multiple channels with American TV programming on it and advertising and all of that. And guess what? Almost overnight, the community feel in that village died. It was gone. Gone. Most Americans today simply do not have anything to live for. They chase one form of entertainment after another, hoping that something will eventually fill the gaping holes that are constantly aching inside their hearts. Do you have meaning and depth and substance to your life? Do you have a sense of purpose in your life, or are you just looking for the latest way to feel a bit less depressed? Another coping mechanism like alcohol, drugs, sexual promiscuity, video games, entertainment, endless, mindless entertainment. At the turn of the 20th century, psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud put forth a new theory about human nature. He claimed to have discovered that human beings had primitive, sexual, and aggressive forces hidden deep inside their subconscious minds, which, if not controlled, could lead societies to chaos and destruction. The ruling class at the time saw this as proof that human beings could not be trusted to make rational decisions and that mass democracy was not possible. Humans needed the iron hand of the elite to rule them, they rationalized, which of course went into the way of what they wanted anyway, which was to control the masses from above. In the 1920s, Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, brought his uncle's ideas to America and put them to use for the benefit of US corporations. He had been impressed at how successfully propaganda had been used to entice American men to enlist and fight in Europe in the First World War. While the British abandoned propaganda in peacetime, the Americans continued and expanded its use with the help of Bernays, who argued that American public opinion must be engineered from above to control the rabble. He considered the average person to be stupid, incapable of thinking. So they said, we and the media will do the thinking for them, and we'll just give them and mind control them so they'll do exactly as we tell them. George Washington Hill, president of the American Tobacco Company, hired him in 1928 to lead a campaign, a PR campaign basically, to entice more women to smoke in public, which was seen as being associated with prostitution in the minds of people. Bernays decided to stage an event at the 1928 New York Easter Day Parade. He persuaded a group of rich, fashionable, upper-class young women, debutantes, to hide cigarettes under the clothes and to light them up dramatically on his prompt when they would be approaching journalists and photographers who were present in droves. He had informed the press that suffragettes were protesting for the right to vote by lighting up torches of freedom. They would light up torches of freedom to protest for the right to vote. And the photographers took pictures. The pictures were all over the press across America. And Bernays managed to make women associate smoking with the idea that it made them more powerful and independent, an idea that persists to this day. Bernays also persuaded female film stars to smoke ostentatiously on screen, thus endorsing cigarettes as being desirable and respectable. Thanks to these psychological mass mind control methods, he had successfully associated smoking with feelings of independence, power, glamour even, and freedom. Women throughout the world began to smoke in their millions. The idea that smoking actually made women freer was complete nonsense, of course. It was irrational. Women were just being exploited and made poorer and unhealthy to become addicts to cigarettes, enriching big tobacco in the process. Now, globally, tobacco use has killed over 100 million people in the 20th century, much more than all deaths in World War I and World War II combined. It is estimated that tobacco-related deaths will number around 1 billion in the 21st century if current smoking patterns continue. This was covert psychological warfare conducted against women, carried out at the expense of women for the profit of American corporations. It was a mind control operation. The experiment was so successful, it made Bernays realize that it was possible to persuade people to behave stupidly, irrationally, even do something that kills you if you link a product to people's subconscious desires and feelings. Products could become powerful emotional symbols of how you want to be seen by others. He had proven to American corporations that they could make people want things they didn't need through psychological manipulation. What Bernays was doing fascinated America's corporations. This system of mass production had flourished during the war and had grown rich in the process, but they were worried about the dangers of overproduction. Bernays realized that traditional marketing didn't work anywhere near as well as playing to people's irrational inner emotions, feelings, and fear. Before they would say like, buy our boots. These are durable boots made of good quality material. And buy these boots, they are practical. That's how advertising worked in the 1900s and 1910 and 1920. But Bernays realized that it's much more effective to go, hey, look, she's wearing boots, she's wearing these boots, and she's famous. And look, they're wearing our boots, and they're having sex. That kind of thing, which was subtext, which was subconscious, which was subliminal, but it worked much more powerfully. You are not good enough and not sexy enough, and you'll never have sex or have children if you don't wear our boots. Basically, tapping into people's irrational fears. To keep the economy going, you needed to use psychological techniques to keep the masses consuming, is what they argued. In the 1930s, leading Wall Street banker Paul Mazur of the Lehman Brothers wrote, "We must shift America from a needs culture to a desires culture. People must be trained to desire, to want new things, even before the old have been entirely consumed. We must shape a new mentality in America. Man's desires must overshadow his needs. Bernays was tasked by the corporations of America with creating a new consumer culture. He created many of the mass consumer persuasion techniques that we still see today. And now advertising and the media just carpet bombs us with advertising and advertising messages constantly, all reinforcing the same message subliminally, and in the subtext to each ad is you must consume and you must conform. And without our product, you are not good enough. You're a loser. You are cast out of society in a sense. Diamonds are not a girl's best friend, despite the amazing PR campaign done over 20 years by the De Beers Corporation. Listen, it used to be that if you wanted to get married, you might give a band, some wedding band, to your bride-to-be, and the father-in-law would give you cattle or some kind of dowry. That was a tradition. The idea of giving diamond rings at engagement is a new thing created by an advertising campaign by De Beers. It didn't exist before the 1940s. It didn't exist culturally. Maybe the aristocrats or the kings had diamond rings or what have you, but not the public at large. But they paid Marilyn Monroe, they paid the James Bond franchise to create songs and movies like Diamonds Are Forever and Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Really, really, diamonds are a girl's best friend? Really, not people, not actual friends, but diamonds? Like, think about it. Think about how twisted it is. Think about what it actually means, what those words actually mean. Christmas used to be about helping the poorest people, about making a difference, about contributing, about being more spiritual, about remembering what you're grateful for. Well, it's definitely not that anymore. The music, let me tell you something. Rap music used to be about protest songs against the establishment. Well, the music industry and the advertising executives and the large corporations that own all the media got together with the music executives and the rap artists and said, listen, here's the deal. You will sing about materialism and your brides and your cars and your fancy lifestyles and all of that, and we will make you millionaires. We will promote you, we will have people loving you and selling and buying your products, etc. if you keep portraying in your video clips and your songs this materialistic message. And guess what? Those that did are now millionaires and multimillionaires. And those that didn't, you've never even heard of them. They co-opted the news industry. Now the news industry just reads out the press releases of large corporations. Corporations now create videos that appear to be news, but it's actually made by a PR company. Most of it in the news is actual complete nonsense. Big business. There's been a campaign over the last 70 years, a PR campaign by large corporations to program the population, to program people with the idea that big businesses are good, that they're efficient, that they are more efficient than the state, that they are necessary, that they create jobs, that they're good for us in some way. Nothing could be further from the truth. Big businesses are poisoning us, killing us, chemicalizing our environment. They are not creating jobs. They're actually destroying massive amounts of jobs. They are, you name it, they are corrupting society. They are corrupting the youth. They are corrupting government. That's the truth about big business. But you don't think that because they control the media. Erich Fromm was a German social psychologist and philosopher who argued that the consumer must be made to feel permanently dissatisfied or gratified only for the shortest time possible. Satisfaction would stop consumption, which would lead to stalled economic growth. Consider how in today's society we're conditioned through advertising to constantly want and desire the latest car, the latest fashion, the latest gadget. We're made to feel like losers if we don't own it. Paul Nice from 1938 said, most people in Western nations have departed from all-time standards of religion and philosophy, and having failed to develop forceful views to take their place, they hold to something that may be called a philosophy of futility. What does it mean? It means when people don't hold on to any spiritual beliefs, but where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? What happens after we die? They believe anything, or they believe nothing, actually. They adopt a philosophy of futility, a philosophy that my life doesn't matter, nothing I do really matters, I feel empty inside, my life feels empty, so I might as well buy more stuff. The best way to develop a sense of futility in people is to deny the existence of life after death or God or of anything spiritual and immaterial. That's when people feel so empty inside, like there's no real point to anything, that they'll just consume food and alcohol and sex and drugs and entertainment and television programs and everything they can to fill that emptiness that they feel inside. Dissatisfaction in the minds of the consumers is further programmed into society via the media with advertising ceaselessly reminding the population that they must keep up with the Joneses, lest they become social outcasts and be looked down on. Because now we define ourselves not by who we are or by our values or how good people we are, but by what we possess. And men are taught by television programming that women demand security more than logical, principled, or honorable behavior. If you want sex, you better have money, status, and success, rather than be a principled, moral, upstanding man. Advertising unashamedly fosters unhappiness with oneself and with one's possession. That's the whole purpose of advertising, to make them feel like without their product, they're inferior, they're not good enough, they're defective. Advertising at its best is about making people feel that without their product, you're a loser. You open up emotional vulnerabilities. And they're very good at doing this, especially with women, actually. Infotainment, they continue, is used for programming and conditioning the public. This medium is far more effective for subliminal reinforcement of desired attitudes towards our objectives. We reinforce the desired norm through advertising, creating a model for people to live up to that is virtually impossible to attain. The result is an incomplete, desperate individual seeking acceptance. You see, the media is constantly reinforcing the message that you're not good enough as you are, you must always be sexy and beautiful, always be famous and super popular, always be amazing, have amazing fun lifestyle, always be fashionable and cool, always be thin, always be young, and if you're not, then you're a loser. It's a model that's virtually impossible to attain. And even if you attain it, even if you're the best super Hollywood star, hottest star, with all the adulation in the world, all the money in the world, millions in your bank account, you have success, you have fame, you have wealth, you have adoration of people all around the world, what do these people do? Do you think they're fulfilled and happy? No. They take drugs, they take alcohol, and they kill themselves, they shoot themselves. Why? Because they have all the things that society and the media have convinced them will make them happy, and they're miserable, they're empty inside, because those are not the things that actually make you happy. And is it any surprise that people like Johnny Depp is depressed, Jim Carrey is depressed, that Angelina Jolie is depressed? These are the things that society, the media tell us are important, are just so not important, so superficial and trivial that no wonder there's 350 million people suffering from depression right now. By the way, this method of selling more by making people feel permanently dissatisfied, it is not anything new. It really isn't. In what can only be described as a marketing manual for the Catholic Church, a book written in the 2nd century AD, over 1800 years ago, a book called The Papacy. It described how to build the influence and grow the Catholic Church. How? If you make people feel lowly, if you make people feel like they're not good enough, if you tell them that they're born in sin, that no matter what they do, they will always be basically scum, and that the only way to be absolved of their sins and the only way to go into heaven is to buy my product, is to basically give the church money. Well, then you will have more influence over their minds, and you will grow in wealth and power. And guess what? Advertising is just following in those footsteps. The consumer must be permanently dissatisfied. Look at what they do to women. Look at the lovely, admittedly, Jessica Alba, but this is a normal woman. She has hips, she has a waist, right? And look how they photoshopped the image to make it look like this tiny thin person. They basically shaved off quite a bit of some inches from here and just put it in this general area over here. And what does this mean? What does this do? Do you think it sells more magazines? No, it does not sell more magazines. This is not the purpose of magazine covers. The purpose of magazine covers is to make people, make women especially, feel horrible about themselves, because then they'll buy more stuff. 9 out of 10 women in the West are unhappy with their appearance. Is it any surprise that 2.5 million plastic surgeries are done a year in the UK? 15 million plastic surgeries a year are done in the US. 9 out of 10 women in the West are unhappy with their appearance. This is covert psychological warfare. This is the hypersexualization of our society. It's psychological warfare conducted against women, carried out at the expense of women for the profit of global corporations. And when women are unhappy, us men are unhappy, because our purpose in life as a man is to protect and serve and husband our woman. It's to make you happy. You understand how men are so lost nowadays because society has taken away their role. Society says, the media says, women don't need men anymore. Women and men are the same. We're equal. Women don't need men. Women need men like a fish needs a bicycle. Have you ever heard that one before? Now, because of media, men compare their spouses and men compare their spouses to the skinny 18-year-old portrayed in ads, and women compare themselves and their bodies to these skinny 18-year-old girls portrayed in ads. Beautiful models or actresses in ads and TV programs have been shown to dramatically lower women's satisfaction with their bodies and to depress their mood. At the same time, the models make men more dissatisfied with their current partner's appearance and the relationship they have with them. In India, they noticed a marked increase in domestic violence and a tendency to fritter away money saved up for children's education in remote areas that until recently did not receive a TV broadcasting signal. Men are taught by television programming that women demand security more than logical, principled, or honorable behavior, as I mentioned earlier. In Fiji, before 1995, they didn't have television, and the full female figure was the preferred cultural form. There were no cases of self-induced vomiting. The year that television was introduced, 11% of young women became bulimic, started vomiting their food in order to stay thin or become thinner. It was 3 times more common amongst girls that lived in a house where there was TV than girls that lived in a house where there was no TV. Again, who do you think is the culprit? It's television. Everything's pointing its finger at television. The paradox of declining female happiness. What women really want. Feminine energy tends towards nurturing, giving, loving, soothing, creating beauty. Feminine energy is about nurturing, trusting, pleasing, acknowledging, letting go of control, allowing, accommodating, surrendering, being in flow. Despite feminist ideology, it is natural for a woman to feel a bit vulnerable at times. And women want to feel like they're being protected and being taken care of by their man. They often need that masculine energy to envelop them and protect them so that they can feel free to blossom into their beautiful feminine energy. Feminine energy tends to flow more like nature. They need a man who's strong, like a strong pole, the man that knows where he's going, so that they can just flow around that. So sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're not. But that's their natural flowing feminine self. And they feel like they can let go and be their natural flowing self when they have a strong man by their side. I'm generalizing, of course, but this is so much more close to the true nature of women than you can even imagine. According to relationship experts, UK relationship experts Tony and Nikki V, Women want the 3 C's. They want certainty from their man, they want to be cherished, to be made to feel special by their man, and compliments. And never ever give your woman uncertainty. Deep down, what women really want is for the man to take control and to lead her. They want real men. Where did all the real men go? Why do women go for bad boys? Because they can't control them. That's more sexy. She cannot respect a man that she can control. Women may think that they want to control their man, but there's nothing attractive about it. It is boring. A woman makes the supreme sacrifice of giving of herself to the man who will cherish her and provide for his family, and men instinctively want to fulfill this responsibility. This exchange of male energy for female energy is the essence of the heterosexual contract formalized by marriage. Now, masculine energy is directed like an arrow. It tends to be about dominance, power, strength, being a protector, being driven, being focused, being on purpose, being a leader, being fearless, being decisive. Men are designed to love women. Our first instinct as a man is to love women, to protect, to husband our woman, to see her thrive. When a woman is happy, it makes us men happy. When our woman is miserable, we are definitely miserable. We feel that we're fulfilling our mission when we make our woman happy. And the vast majority of men have supported their family, supported their woman since the dawn of time. That's what we do. And yet feminist ideology will have you convinced that men are scum, that have suppressed women, that have held women down. That's the whole ideology that they want you to believe. Where, yes, of course, that has existed as well, but that is not the vast majority of men. But that's the image that they've created in the minds and the subconscious of women. Historically, it's the men that have sacrificed themselves fighting and protecting and take care of their families, taking risks to explore new lands. What do men want for all that? Men want to be appreciated, acknowledged, adored, and never ever criticized, says Tony and Nikki V. And there's polarity between masculine and feminine energy. When men are in their masculine energy, it attracts a woman in her feminine energy. If a woman is in her masculine energy, she will attract, like for example, if she works in a corporate environment where she has to be a man, she has to be like a man, directed, focused, ambitious, driven, etc., etc., guess what? She will attract a weak, feminized man because masculine energy and feminine energy have a polarity to it. It's not going to last as a relationship, but that's what occurs. Men rise up to the challenge. If a woman shows us a little bit of vulnerability, that she needs you, well, we rise up to the challenge, but it's becoming rarer and rarer for a woman to allow herself to be a bit vulnerable. By living more in her masculine energy, there's no room for a man to show up for her. What would be the point? She evidently doesn't need you. Feminism has conditioned to reject the traditional model, which reflects every natural instinct in her body, as an old-fashioned oppressive stereotype, that they could not rely, teaching them they could not rely on the heterosexual contract, that they need to have a career, earn their own money, and be independent. At the same time, Playboy magazine aimed a similar message at men. You don't need to get married to have sex, be a player, marriage and children are boring. With traditional values of love and marriage having been discarded, women have nothing left to exchange for love but sex. So they become obsessed with their appearance, constantly competing with other women on looks and sex appeal. Talking about sex, listen, everything is energy. We know this since the 1920s. Quantum physicists have proven that everything that we see around us that we think is actual physical, tangible thing is actually empty space with a pattern of energy running through it. And this whole reality is not actually real. It's just an illusion of our senses. Everything is just energy, singular, loving energy. So on an energetic level and on a symbolic level, sex means something very, very different than what we think it means. This is what Stuart Swerdlow says, the author Stuart Swerdlow. He says, since humanity is split into male and female components, as compared to the God mind, where the God mind, the totality of the entire universe, this one consciousness, has both male and female to it. It's not, God is not a white man or white man with a white beard and white hair sitting on a cloud, right? That's not the truth of what the God mind is. Since humanity is split into male and female components, the natural desire is to merge this into the one. This represents our attempt to return to the God-mind source. The sensation of orgasm is related to the release of creative energy by the God-mind. In effect, sexual activity is a poor replica of the creative actions of God-mind. The expression of love between two people ultimately results in a sexual union because the need to merge and symbolize the God-mind is a natural outgrowth of unconditional love. It is best to remain with one partner to maintain balance and peace. It is best to truly love that partner. It is best to make love rather than just have sex. He goes on in the book, True Reality of Sexuality, to explain that what the different sex acts represent symbolically in the mind of God, actually. And there's much more to this, but he goes on to say this. A male projects out his entire energy, including his DNA, when he has an orgasm. A female intakes this and is imprinted by what the male projects. Therefore, if a woman is promiscuous and has many partners, she can become both physically and mentally ill because she is constantly imprinting different patterns on her auric field. So these patterns of, let's say, crazy men, violent men, crazy men, unbalanced men, all that insanity and craziness and nastiness and viciousness in their subconscious or on an energetic level is being imprinted on her energetic field. And he says you will never see a healthy prostitute because of this. Males, on the other hand, do not get imprinted by females, or maybe not to the same degree. That is why it is so easy for them to leave a relationship without all the emotional suffering that females go through. He also says that two females having sex receive no energy from each other and may feel unfulfilled in their relationships in the long term, in the long run. He also says that homosexual men tend to give each other a lot more energy. And I'm talking about sex here on an energetic level. Please understand that. What does it actually do? Now, this is fascinating when you consider that the idea that when two people argue, or one person is being shouted at by somebody else, the person doing the shouting is actually trying to steal the energy, the life force of that person in order to elevate themselves, to make themselves feel a bit better inside. When they're afraid and they have low vibrational energy, they will shout at you or aggress you in some way, in order to steal some of your energy. And also, if a woman is dressed really sexily and walks down the street and gets all this attention from people, she's actually taking energy from all these different people. When somebody's just speaking to you and just droning on and keep making you bored, that is also a way of taking energy from you. And there's many other different things that people do, passive-aggressive remarks and what have you, that create a dynamic where they're taking energy from you. Sex is also a way that women receive energy from men. And perhaps it's no surprise that a lot of men just fall asleep exhausted after sex. But that's just me. That's just a hypothesis at this point. Barbara Marciniak, who is a channeler, spiritual channeler, says sexuality is one of your spiritual keys. If you are lucky enough to have a loving partner, this can help you tap into powers you didn't know you had. Never lie to someone you had sex with, or you have sex with. And never have sex with someone you don't have a deep rapport with. Because when you have sex, you build a frequency that is so powerful that it ripples through the dimensions. You know, in ancient Greece, the priestesses were called hierodules, which means the holy workers. But hierodules also means prostitutes, or the holy prostitutes. And they would have special mystical knowledge, which they would pass on to certain selected males through sacred sexual rites. And I don't know how exactly how it works, but I think tantric sex has something to do with it, and opening your kundalini to access the spiritual world, the metaphysical world, to download information. Something to that something about that kind of thing. And so there is much, much more to sex than meets the eye. And when it comes to, there's much more I'd like to say about the female womb and that V shape and how the ancients used to mix menstrual blood with gold powder to give them eternal life. The ancient rulers in Mesopotamia and Sumerian times and Egypt and beyond, and that's what the Holy Grail represents. That V sign, that cup sign of the Holy Grail, is actually the menstrual blood of their priestesses mixed with gold powder for the fixative properties of the gold powder would help, fix those healing powers of menstrual blood. And of course, what did the Catholic Church do? They said all that is unclean and bad and evil and a sign of evil, when in fact, for the ruling classes, it meant the exact opposite. It was the Holy Grail. It was eternal life. And there's much, much more to say about this, but we would run out of time if I went down that route. Not to mention that I would freak out most of the people on this webinar. The real purpose of marriage and having children, it's not happiness. The purpose of marriage is to teach people how to fully love themselves, which means accepting your own parts, the parts of you that you accept and that you own, and the disowned parts of yourself. So the parts of you that you don't like, that you dismiss, that you don't accept. A disowned self is a sub-personality that is punished each time it arises into consciousness. You tend to marry your disowned parts for the purpose of teaching you to love the parts of you that you disown. Have you ever found that your husband or your wife is like your mother or your father, or parts of your mother or your father that you disallowed, disowned, disavowed, that you reject? And then I once had a coaching client. She said to me, I met this man and we were married 6 weeks later, and within a week of getting married, he became critical like my mother and emotionally distant like my father. That is hilarious. Critical like my mother and emotionally distant like my father. Guess what? You marry your disowned parts. When you choose a partner to be with, to have a relationship with, to get married with, a lot is happening on a subconscious level. You don't really know why you choose that person, but your subconscious does. Your intuition does. It's not for the purpose of, hey, to live happy ever after. No. The purpose of reincarnation is not just as happiness and joy and fun and games. It's about self-improvement. It's about elevating your soul. It's about learning to love more, really, ultimately. That's what it's about. So if there's parts of you that you don't love and accept, guess what? You will marry them. You will do business. You'll join in business with these people. Ironically, says Dr. John DeMartini, whatever you disown in yourself, you attract into your life in one form or another. You marry your disowned parts. You become business partners with your disowned parts. You attract them as clients and friends. Whatever you don't want to see or appreciate in yourself, you keep attracting into your life until you learn to love it. You can't escape your full quantum. You can't escape the fact that within you, you have the entire universe. All the 4,000 character traits that people have are within you. And those that you reject or that you hate in other people, guess what? You hate them in other people because they're in you as well. Having children. Why do you have children? You manifest children because they will have those traits that you haven't learned to love yet. It's the universe's way of bringing it up to you, bring it up to your face for you to finally learn to accept it. Like you have tendencies within yourself of maybe homosexuality perhaps, or violence, or being a rebel, or being too self-indulgent in some way, or liking to indulge in alcohol a bit too much. Well, guess what? If you don't accept that within yourself, you might manifest it in your partner, or even in your children, until you learn to accept yourself completely. Now, talking about the moving to a slightly different subject, well, continuing on from before, the ideological subversion of society. Now, it's interesting to note that in the early 1900s, communists in Russia had outlined feminism as a tool for achieving their aims of subverting a country, basically turning a nation into a socialist society. As described in the book The Naked Communist, one of their strategies was to get behind the feminist movement. Why? Because it is very successful in creating division and discontent within a society. One of their goals was to destroy the family, because the family unit is the foundation of a society. Devoid of a loving, stable family, or of a belief in God, humans are demoralized. They don't have morals and they feel demoralized. There's nothing to fight for. They've got nothing to fight for. They won't put up much resistance. They wouldn't be willing to fight against the communist revolution. And this was one of the ways they did it. They basically got behind the feminist movement. Now, Yuri Bezmenov is a former KGB officer who defected to the West in 1970. He revealed in the 1980s the dangers of KGB propaganda and ideological subversion. He explained in those lectures that subversion involves destroying the religion, the political system, and the economic system of a country for the purpose of destroying your enemy's country or for taking control of that said nation. He claimed that 85% of activities carried out by the KGB was not spying. We have the idea of James Bond and the KGB, it's about spying. They don't do spying that much of other nations. It was mainly doing psychological warfare, ideological subversion, which involved demoralizing a society over a period of 15 to 20 years, then destabilizing it 2 to 5 years, and then basically normalizing the situation by taking over the country. The name of the game was to defeat the US through psychological manipulation. As Nikita Khrushchev, the premier of the Soviet Union said, the president of the Soviet Union said, "We will bury the United States without firing a single shot." They wanted to do it by demoralizing the American society. How do you demoralize a society? And what has this got to do with women and female declining happiness? Well, you demoralize a society by promoting atheism. Convince people that they're no different than any animal and that there's nothing special to them. With no real basis of morality, such as some kind of spiritual or religious basis for morality, there's no real basis from which to seek the truth and argue for it. So basically, the ruling class can do whatever they want. They can create wars, they can kill people, and can argue why it's normal to kill people and it's good for society to then whatever. They can argue whatever because there's no basis, no morality. Promote materialism, greed, and a focus on financial success, that people are fighting against one another. Promote feminism to create discontent in women and hasten the breakup of families. Promote division among the people, always have people in conflicting situations. Push people in the direction that they're already going. They like junk food, they like porn, they like entertainment, they like free welfare money. Give them more of it. Give them more of it to increase self-indulgence, because a self-indulgent society won't fight for anything. Break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in magazines, movies, television. Promote homosexuality and gay rights. If you want teenagers to have sex ed at school. If you want teenagers to start doing drugs, have drug ed at school. If you want teenagers to start drinking, have alcohol ed at school. Because the purpose of those educational programs are the exact opposite of what they portray themselves to be. What they portend to be. Promote immigration and multiculturalism. Native people will not feel as if it's their country anymore, so they won't feel like fighting to protect. You don't see multiculturalism being promoted in Israel or China or Russia. You're seeing it in societies that they want to break apart. Promote violence in the media. Promote fear-based imagery and scenarios. Celebrate and reward financially valueless celebrities and sports people instead of celebrating people who show courageous and honorable behavior. That demoralizes people that have values, that are moral. Because they're saying, well, I'm moral, but I don't get ahead in society. But these jackasses who are on celebrity, on TV shows or whatever, on Big Brother, reality TV shows, they're worthless, shit people, and yet they're making millions by being on TV. You see how that demoralizes a society? Now, the CIA was very aware of the power that television held over the minds of people. In the 1950s, the CIA and assorted US agencies were afraid of communism and the Soviet Union's experiments in mind control. The US could not afford to fall behind in these matters. The Russians had their population under control through the threat of violence and incarceration in concentration camps and constant surveillance. The US needed to control their own population as well as the Soviets had done, or in the long term they could be weakened from within and taken over by the enemy, they reasoned. In a 1979 CIA document titled Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, they hypothesized that television could play a major role in achieving the social engineering and social control objectives, what they called the automation of society. It stated that to maintain the status quo and preserve American society, they needed to keep the public undisciplined, confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance. They came to the conclusion that keeping a society focused on entertainment and fostering a culture of distraction and consumption ensured the public did not get involved politically and reduced the chance of dissidents, revolutions, and violence against the state. If everybody's just conformist, everybody's conforming and consuming and doesn't say anything about what the government is doing, it's easier and cheaper to manage the government. This was done, they said, in the interest of future world order, peace, and tranquility. People would be happy and satiated living in somewhat of a bubble, and the government would not need coercive military techniques to subdue and control the population, as the Soviets had done. It was the lesser of two evils, in a sense. Their proposed agenda, how would they do it? How would they foster a culture of distraction and consumption and keep the society focused on entertainment? Here's what that white paper said. They would start by disengaging people's minds, by keeping people distracted, keeping public entertainment below a 6th grade level. This was written in 1979. Keeping the public busy with work with no time to think. Providing a low-quality program of public education for the lower classes of society and discouraging technical creativity to maintain some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility. The low-class elements of a society must be brought under total control. Disintegrating the lower-class family unit, the state would then raise the children of lower-class families and indoctrinate them from a young age. It will be made more difficult for families to stay together. More women will work outside the home and more people will remain single. Sports will be promoted to girls so they will seek achievement instead of family. Girls will be taught that they are the same as boys. Engaging people's emotions through unrelenting mental and emotional attacks. Subjecting the public to a constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media. Pornography, violence, and obscenity on TV and in movies will be increased. People will be desensitized to violence and porn and made to feel that life is short, precarious, and brutish. Because in that kind of politics of tension, people would be so fearful and afraid and they'll just conform. They'll just do whatever they're told because they feel like they're demoralized, there's nothing to fight for. And if life is precarious and short and brutish, I might as well consume. Giving people what they desire in excess. This would increase their self-indulgence. And shifting people's thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. What are the Kardashians doing this week? Keeping the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. The general rule is that there is profit and acquiescence in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. The hidden goal of feminism was to destroy the family. It is worth noting that the leader of the feminist movement in the 1960s, Gloria Steinem, has admitted to working as a CIA agent. She's also admitted that the CIA funded Ms. Magazine. The CIA funded the publishing of more than 1,000 books that promoted the feminist agenda to influence intellectual discourse in the 1950s and 1960s in America and throughout the world. The CIA's Project Mockingbird involved the direct infiltration of the corporate media. By the early 1950s, the CIA owned respected members of the New York Times, Newsweek, CBS, 400 to 600 journalists in all. And they said you could get a journalist cheaper than a good call girl for a couple of $100 a month. A German editor recently, like in the last 2-3 months, said every European journalist of consequence is an asset of the CIA, which means they get paid $1,000 to $5,000 or more per month to work for the CIA, to put out articles and information slanted in the direction of what the CIA wants. Feminism succeeded in demoralizing, alienating, and dividing Americans. That's what it really succeeded in doing. Is it really any surprise that women are unhappier today than they were in the 1950s? Now, in a meeting between Aaron Russo, the television producer of movies like Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, Aaron Russo, the film producer, was in a conversation with his friend Nicholas Rockefeller of the famous Rockefeller family. And Rockefeller asked, hey Nicholas, what do you think Women's Lib was about? What do you think that was about? And Aaron Russo said, well, it was about women's vote and women equality, right? Said, no, of course not. We funded Women's Lib. We paid for certain shows on television, articles in newspapers. So now we can tax the other half of the population, and we can get the kids into school at an early age so we can indoctrinate them on how to think. Soon it breaks down the family. They start seeing the state as their family. So these are the two primary reasons for Women's Lib. You see, it's really not how it's portrayed on TV or in the media. That is psychological warfare against the population. Since the 1960s, women are constantly being indoctrinated with following beliefs that undermine women's natural loving instincts. Women are victims, so they need to be entitled, they need to fight against men. Men cannot be trusted. Men are stupid. Just look at The Simpsons or Family Guy or ads that portray bumbling, stupid, idiot husbands, and then women come in and help the husband who's just clueless without her. You don't need a man. You need a man like you need, like a fish needs a bicycle, right? Women should be selfish. Women should be sexually promiscuous. Like in the magazine 17, targeted 17-year-old girls, I guess, that says there's articles in the magazine 17 saying why you should put out on your first date, why you need to have sex with a guy on your first date. This is the messages that teenage girls are receiving. It is okay to use sex to get what you want. You can have it all. You can be dismissive of men, scornful of men, and manifest a great relationship. No, you can't. You can be career-driven and have children in your 30s. No, you probably can't. You can dress sluttily and walk around almost undressed and be treated as a respectable woman. No, probably it's not going to happen. But that's the kind of conflicting, schizophrenic type of messages that women are getting. Self-fulfillment for women lies in career success, and not family. The truth is, most jobs are deeply ordinary and they leave women feeling unfulfilled. But society, the media, feminists make women feel bad, make them feel like they're lazy if they want to be a stay-at-home mom. You know, it's insane. Women can definitely find fulfillment in things they do outside the home, but they will never be fully fulfilled as a woman through their career as a man would. It's okay to use sex as they want. In this era of materialism, lack of morals, feminism, all meeting together, there's an increasing number of women which think nothing of using their beauty and sexuality to land a rich guy. In Cyprus, on the dating scene, the first thing a girl will ask you very often is, what car do you drive? In the US, the website seekingarrangement.com has 3.3 million young women registered on it, offering sex in exchange for an allowance of, on average, $5,000 a month. An American businesswoman in her 40s and single, I asked her, what are you looking for in a man? I was thinking she'd say, a man who cherishes me, who is loving, who protects me, who takes care of me, who's a good, honorable man. No. All she said is, he must have a net worth of at least $100 million. Women want to be loved, but not love unconditionally first. They want to dress provocatively and be sexy, but be treated like a respectable woman. They're told they can sleep with dozens of men and not be considered slutty. They can treat men like crap, be scornful of men, and still marry the man of your dreams. No, you can't. It's an insane message. Again, this is covert psychological warfare. Every cover of a magazine that you see like this, every ad that you see with a model is covert psychological warfare conducted against women, carried out at the expense of women for the profit of special interests. Our purpose as men is to make women happy. And with women being so unhappy, we are unhappy. With women saying that they don't need men anymore, what is our role anymore? What's our purpose as men? No wonder men are feeling lost and unsure of themselves. In 40 short years, many women have lost touch with their natural loving instincts. Consequently, the family is in disarray, sexual depravity is rampant, birth rates have plummeted, the American woman has been hoodwinked into investing herself in a mundane career instead of investing herself in the timeless love of her husband and children. Thus, many women are schizophrenic as they attempt to reconcile their natural instincts with constant exhortations to do the opposite. The wreckage is broken families and dysfunctional people is strewn everywhere. Unfortunately, says Barbara Rosiniak, so many women think they need to awaken into this feminism that turns them into men. And they lose their beauty, they lose the whole idea of producing beauty and embodying life and protecting life. When I think that part of a woman's role is to really take on that goddess energy, to embody it and to value life and to make a stand in society for establishing beauty, fairness, so that all life is honored. That's what women naturally should gravitate to. And yet they aren't, because society has trained them in order to profit the corporations and the state. Men and women are complementary. We need each other. When feminists say that we're the same, it implies that we don't need each other. Far from empowering women, feminism has actually disempowered and weakened women. It has deprived them of a secure and valued social role as a wife, mother, educator, homemaker. Women are now merely sex objects and replaceable workers. Women wanted more control, but now it's like, wait, if now I'm in charge, it means I have to do it all. Erin Pizze of the Refuge, she founded the Refuge charity, she says, the hard-won freedom of choice has imprisoned women. I just see an exhausted generation trying to do it all. I attended a relationship retreat in Austria in 2005. And it was mainly women in their 40s and 50s, highly successful corporate women, business women, investment women, who were single and miserable and unhappy and depressed. Because they had the money, they had the success, the big house, the cars, you name it, and they were so unhappy. So we did this exercise where they placed 3 women facing in one direction, 3 men facing in the same direction but behind them, and they said, okay, women, this dragon's attacking now. And ladies, put your hands up and say, I'll take care of this. And the dragons represent financial worries and all kinds of issues. And the women put their hands up and went, I'll take care of this. And then they asked the women, how did you feel? How did that feel? And the women said, oh, that's easy. In business, I take care of problems all the time. I slay the dragons all day long, no worries. Then they placed the man next to the woman. It's okay, the dragon is attacking. Now, ladies, turn to the man and say, should I take care of this or should you? And see how does that feel? And then thirdly, put the man in front of the woman. They're both facing in the same direction. So the woman is looking at the back of his head, basically. The dragons are attacking. The men are in front. Men, put your hand up and say, I'll take care of this. Like in a stop sign kind of, I'll take care of this. So I did it, and I had one of these ladies behind me. And what happened next, to the day I die, I'll never forget. The women collapsed on the floor, screaming, shrieking, wailing, in tears. Like this tearing shrieking sound came out of them as they collapsed on the floor in a heap. What happened? What had happened in that moment? The man had just said, I'll take care of this, and the women fell on the ground shrieking and crying. What had happened was that for the past 3-4 decades, these women had convinced themselves that they can't trust men, they can't trust anyone, they've got to be in charge, they've got to protect themselves, they've got to earn the income, they've got to take care of everything. And they were exhausted. They were spend their whole lives just going, I need to take care of this, I've got to pretend that I'm in charge, I'm in control of everything. And that kind of stress, the moment that they were able to just let themselves be a little bit vulnerable and let the man take charge and protect them, they just collapsed in a heap, because that was the first time in decades where they allowed themselves to finally be true to their feminine self, to finally let go of all that pretense, all that stress, and be a little bit vulnerable. And in that moment, I realized, wow, maybe feminism has got things a little bit wrong. Maybe women do need that strong man by their side. Maybe the women will be happier like that. Because at the time, I was a staunch feminist back in 2005. But I started realizing, hey, maybe there's a different model that's more, that works better. Is it any surprise that men are feeling lost and unsure of themselves? Our traditional role of protector and husband has been rendered obsolete by the media. Depression is a rational response to a sick society. We've seen that. The media and advertising are conducting psychological warfare against women. Advertising is unrelenting in exploiting women's emotional vulnerabilities, and men's as well, in order to make them feel bad about themselves, make us feel bad, and to sell us more stuff. Women are taught to go against their very nature. Women are taught that men are scum and you don't need men, when in fact you really want men, you need men, you want to be with men. Women are taught to prioritize their career over relationship, family life, friends even. Women are now viewed as merely sex objects and replaceable workers. Women have only sex to give in exchange for love. Women are exhausted trying to do everything, and they're conflicted because their soul, their nature, is telling them, I want this. But society is telling them, no, you want success and cars and money and career. Is it any surprise that women are feeling unhappy and are in ever larger numbers single in their 30s and 40s and 50s? If you want to finally manifest the relationship of your dreams, have a media blackout. Stop watching TV. Sell or give away your TV. Stop buying or reading women's magazines, for the love of God. They're not women's magazines. They're women's psychological warfare. It's psychological warfare against women magazines. It's how to hate yourself magazines for women. Stop visiting Facebook. Reconnect with your friends, your family, your community. Do something for your community. Be loving. Be nurturing towards something, people, community, something. Reconnect to your feminine side. Reconnect to what you really want. Focus on helping others, being loving, giving love, creating beauty. Show your vulnerable side. Let men rise up to the challenge of taking care of you. Discover and examine your beliefs about men, about relationships, about marriage, about having children. Create your future. Create a new reality for yourself. How do you do that? How do you create your future? How do you change your life? Step one is get clarity. Know exactly what you want. Step two, identify what is holding you back, the limiting beliefs, the subconscious things that trip you up, that sabotage you from having what you want. Step three, reprogram your mind. Step four, raise your vibrational frequency so you attract better things into your life. Step five, take massive action and create that perfect life. You get your life to take off by first becoming very, very clear about it. Clarity is power. What do you really want? What are your goals? What are your values? Who do you want to be? What do you love? What do you hate? What is your perfect, actually, we'll get to that actually. What is your ideal relationship? Step two, identify those roadblocks. Identify those limiting beliefs about men, about women, about marriage, about fun, about happiness, about having children. Reprogram your mind with affirmations, with visualization, with vision boards, with subliminal messages. I use Prosperity Power Subliminal software. We spent $20,000 developing this software, and there's programs for relationships. We're attracting an amazing relationship. Imagine if you're programmed every 5 seconds, subliminally, subconsciously, your subconscious being reprogrammed with, I love my beautiful relationship. I am in an amazing relationship. Imagine if you get 7,000 times a day programmed with the belief, I am in an amazing, beautiful, loving relationship. Use subliminal software technology to bombard your subconscious brain, says John Assaraf. This will flash your affirmations almost invisibly on your computer screen. The mind is what the mind is fed, said David Schwartz of The Magic of Thinking Big. When you believe something can be done, really believe, your mind will find the ways to do it. Program your mind to believe, and then it happens. That's how it works. It's not the other way around. You will see it when you believe it. The most powerful force in the human psyche is people's need to stay consistent with their identity. If in your subconscious, in your identity is, I am scornful of men, men are like this, men are like that, you will do whatever it takes to stay consistent with that. And being in a relationship is not consistent with that identity, with that subconscious belief system. Tony Robbins says, I use subliminal messages. He's revealing the secret to success, why it's worth $400 million. I use subliminal messages to condition my mind to believe I could succeed, to build energy in my body, and anybody who wants to succeed has got to know it doesn't just happen. You can buy a course, a product, an opportunity, but also with that, you've got to condition your subconscious mind. He's telling us he used subliminal messages to transform his life. Tiger Woods, from the age of 6, used subliminal messages every day, feeding his mind a steady diet of positive affirmations. This helped him to align his mind to his goals, to focus on success, and to block any negativity out of his mind. For peak performance, your mind must be trained to peak condition. And Dr. Joe Vitale says, I love this. I can absorb my goals and reprogram my mind 1,000 times a day while I sit and read email. This is brilliant, and it works. Step 4. So step 3 is you got to reprogram your subconscious mind. Step 4, raise your vibrational frequency. You want to attract a beautiful relationship in your life? You need to be at a frequency of joy, passion, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation, gratitude, positivity, happiness, belief. That's when you attract a great relationship, great things in your life. If you wish to understand the universe, as Nikola Tesla, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibrations. We mentioned earlier what you can do to raise your vibrational frequency. Create the daily time, the daily power regimen, the daily habit for manifesting that magnificent life, creating that magnificent life. Every day, do your affirmations and your visualization. And step 5, take massive action and create. Create that new life, create that new life of passion, of purpose, of excitement. You deserve it, you're worth it, so just do it. Next step, to help you transform your life, to help you find your purpose, to help you make a living doing what you love, to help you manifest the ideal relationship, I created a new program for you titled the Elevation Mastery Program. It's an 8-week total life transformation program. It's designed to elevate your mind, transform your life. Each week you receive one lesson, PDF and a video, simple workshop exercise to go through, and you get a live group coaching webinar with myself where we discuss that week's lesson, and I answer your questions, I hold you accountable to your goals, and I review your progress. We'll be doing these coaching webinars every Sunday. Week 1, lesson 1, is get clarity. That means it's designed to help you discover who you really are, discover what you really want, discover your hierarchy of values, discover your purpose and life mission, discover your patterns and life lessons, the mistakes that you make over and over again. Step 2, create your future. Set your new goals for yourself, for financial goals, health goals, relationship goals, career goals. Design the new you. Create your perfect life in detail. Create your ideal relationship in detail. That is week 2, creating your future. Week 3, identify your roadblocks. Identify what's holding you back from achieving your goals, your limiting beliefs, your inner conflicts, your value conflicts, your subconscious fears that are sabotaging you. Identify the energetic blockages within you. Week 4, reprogram your mind. Destroy your fears, become unstoppable, integrate your whole mind, your conscious and your subconscious. Use visualizations, affirmations, subliminal messages to reprogram your mind. Week 5, raise your frequency, love yourself, do what you love others, do things of contribution, forgiveness, letting go of the past. Improve your sleep, exercise, use higher vibration nourishment. By elevating your frequency, you attract better things in your life. Week 6, create your daily power regimen. Use the power of habits in your life, because it's not about what you do once, it's about what you do every single day, how you condition your mind for success. Your daily routine for success conditioning is what you'll create in week 6. Spend 20 minutes a day devoted to creating your brand new extraordinary life and destiny. Week 7 is the cleanse. Cleanse your body for 7 days. This skyrockets your energy levels. This makes your thinking clearer and elevates your frequency. Cut out acid addictions that lower your vibrational frequency. Track changes in your energy levels and mood. That's the fun we're going to have in week 7. Week 8 is finally create your plan and take action. Step up and be a leader. Create a new product, create a new business, brainstorm the action steps you need, formalize them into a plan, and set a time scale for achieving those steps. Take action, start making a living, doing what you love, create that ideal relationship, and get to enjoy life on a whole different level. There's only 20 places available. We're starting on December 4th, and you can sign up now. This program is for you. This coaching program is for you if you feel stuck, or you feel like something is missing, or you've been feeling unhappy for a long time and you don't know why. You want to turbocharge your confidence and your self-belief. You want to dramatically improve your relationships or manifest a relationship. You want to have a magnificent career and step up as a leader. That's how you create an amazing career. That's how you jump to the next level, by stepping up your leadership abilities. You want to dramatically improve your health. You want to earn a lot more money than you currently do. You want to get more out of life and reach your full potential. You want to powerfully transform your life, and you want to have more fun and safeguard yours and your family's financial future. Then this is the program for you. Go to elevationseminars.com/mastery. Your risk-free investment today is only $997. You benefit from a 100% money-back guarantee, so you have everything to win and nothing to lose. Go to elevationseminars.com/mastery now. I'm going to send you the link through the chat box, and it's elevationseminars.com/mastery. Great. So the price is $997. For the first 20 people who join this program, you're also going to get the Prosperity Power Subliminal Software valued at $497, which includes programs on wealth and success and relationships, mind power, health and well-being, sports excellence, confidence and attitude, total self-confidence, supreme positivity, and much more. 40 different programs actually. Your risk-free investment of $997 today is only $497. So for the first 20 people, we're going to do this at just $497. Go to elevationseminars.com/mastery to take advantage of this program. Only 20 places left, 20 places available actually. So go to elevationseminars.com/mastery. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching, then you can sign up for the elite level, and the price of that is going to be $2,500, but today it's only $997. So go to elevationseminars.com/mastery, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to having you on this program. I want you in this program. This is the best thing I've ever put together, and this will transform every aspect of your life. We're starting on December 4th. There's 20 places left only, 20 places available only, so go to elevationseminars.com/mastery, and I'll see you there. Take care.